Hey everyone, how's it going? First of all, Happy New Year. I hope everyone had a good Christmas and New Year break. So, it's that time of year where Scott from the Rock Scout over in Scotland has drawn up the new questions for the medal tag for 2023. If you're not familiar with the competition, every year he asks a series of questions and you give answers by providing examples with the albums you show. So, I've done this already for 2 years running and it's proven to be a lot of fun. So, I'm definitely going to get involved this year. There's about 20 questions, I think, so I don't want to waste your time. We'll get straight into it. So just going through the questions and then I'll show you the examples. All right, so the first question is, name a false start album, meaning an album that you struggled with at first but grew to like eventually. For me, that's easy. The most glaringly obvious choice, Iron Maiden Senjutsu. So you'll know that when I did a collection update and included this album, I said when I initially heard it, like a lot of people, I found it really boring, and I said I think I gave it a rating of about 3 out of 10. But as I mentioned, there's so much music on this album, like approximately 80 minutes to digest. It takes a long time to become familiar with it and really pick up on all of the subtleties. And I know some people really hate this album, but for me, it just grew on me more and more, and now I love it. It's great for an epic run along the beach, and I've done that a couple of times. And a really surprise album for me in the sense that now I would say it rates, I'm not sure in my top 5 Maiden albums, but at the very least in the top 10. It's a brilliant album. So yeah, this was a false start album for me. Iron Maiden Senjutsu. Okay, second question. Show an album with a war theme or war lyrics. Very easy for me. You might guess what's coming. Marduk with Panzer Division Marduk. So for me, this is the ultimate war album. Probably you're familiar with this band, black metal band from Sweden. And this album was just the most unprecedented, brutal, unrelenting album. It's relentless, it's blasting, it's chaotic, and it's an absolute masterpiece. This is probably my favorite album from the mid-period of Marduk. Because of the title, this band was misconstrued as political or a fascist band. They're not. You know, if you're familiar with Marduk, it's a black metal band, so most of the lyrical themes revolved around Satanism and anti-Christianity at the beginning, and then from this album onwards they took on a World War II theme without being political. But this is just the oral equivalent of war. You know, it's relentless blast beats which mimic machine gun fire, frantic, chaotic, heavy, chunky riffs, really embodying heavy metal, you know, of a Panzer tank, something like that. But it's an absolute blast fest, but at the same time, there are so many memorable guitar melodies and riffs on this album. It's just an onslaught, 30 minutes of controlled chaos, but it's absolutely brilliant. And you'll notice that like in some of the songs like Baptism by Fire, they even include war machinery, like you hear the sound of accelerating panzers and that terrifying siren wail of dive bombing planes and stuff like that. It's just awesome, and this album really gets me going. This could be an energizing album for me as well, which is in a future question. But yeah, all of the fact it's not political, because most of the songs are talking about Panzer Division Marduk's war on Christianity, sort of in a fictional, metaphorical context of using World War II artillery against Christianity. And that's shown on songs like Panzer Division Marduk, Blood Dawn, stuff like that. But there are some songs which actually talk about historical events in World War II, such as Scorched Earth and 502. But yeah, I love this album. Favorite songs, Panzer Division Marduk, Baptism by Fire, Beast of Prey, and Blood Dawn. But for me, this is the ultimate war album. If you like brutal black metal and you haven't checked this out, definitely do so. It's a masterpiece. So Marduk, Panzer Division Marduk, the black metal war machine. And this, yeah, there you go. Yeah, this featured the classic lineup. All right, coming to question 3. Refresh my screen. Okay, the most influential metal musician to you in the last 10 years. So for me, that's undoubtedly this gentleman here. So that is Werewolf of Satanic Warmaster, who goes under a variety of pseudonyms like Werewolf, Tyrant, Werewolf. But when I say influential, like I'm not a musician per se. I have been involved in bands in the past, you know, writing lyrics, contributing vocals, but really I just listen to music. But he's been the most influential band member in the sense that I really love his solo band, Satanic Warmaster, as You probably know that's one of my favorite bands of all time, just brilliant Finnish black metal. But in addition to that, he runs a label called Werewolf Records, and he only signs quality bands. Through his label, I've discovered so many other bands, mostly from Finland, which I like, such as this one, Satanic Warmaster, but also his solo project, another one called Werewolf, so going by his namesake. Also, other magic bands on this label for me are Stormheit and Moon Citadel, but yeah, he creates quality music and he releases quality bands. And he also signed the US legendary black metal band Thornspawn recently as well. But yeah, I just think he creates excellent music, he releases excellent music. So especially in the last 5 years, I've discovered a lot of great music through him. So Werewolf of Satanic Warmaster. Okay, coming into question number 4. A band on your to-see list. So I'm lucky in the sense that over the years I've seen many bands that I've wanted to see, and I've ticked a few off the list, especially at Steelfest in 2022. But one band that I would love to see and never have is Moonsorrow from Finland. So most people are probably familiar with this band, but it's epic folk metal, but I think it takes a strong influence from black and Viking metal as well. And it's just got this really monumental, symphonic, folky sound, really thick, chunky, heavy wall of sound with so much melody. It's really atmospheric, it's magic. And I've seen video footage of this band performing live. You know, they use the keyboards and the keyboard players headbanging along. It just looks like a great energy and atmosphere. Yeah, so a band I'd really love to see one day. Moonsorrow from Finland. And on that topic, some other bands that I would like to see. Emperor, I've never seen them, so definitely on the bucket list. In addition to Varathron from Greece and Nocturnal Mortem from Ukraine. I might be able to see them this year, but we'll see. All right, question 5, an album that energizes you. So as I mentioned, Panzer Division Marduk would be one, but I would say the most glaringly obvious choice for me would be Blood Feast with Chopped, Sliced and Diced. So Blood Feast, this is actually an EP rather than a full-length album, but Blood Feast are a thrash metal band from the USA, but it sort of embodies that sound where thrash metal was evolving into death metal in the late 80s, you know, with the screechy, raspy vocals. But I bought this album in 2020. Look at that awesome disc. And I remember the first time I played it, when it came to an end, I hit play again. Like this gets me moving, like fast, frantic riffs, great vocal patterns. It really gets me pumped up for the day. So yeah, there are other albums which I could include on the list, like Killing Is My Business by Megadeth, Fast and Frantic, as well as Syzygial Miscreancy by Hellwitch. But this would be my number 1 choice for the most energizing album, Blood Feast with Chopped, Slice and Diced. All right. Question 6, Big Freeze. Show a snow or ice album cover. So a cover or a song or lyrics involving snow or ice. For me, that came to me immediately. It is, of course, Immortal with Battles in the North. So legendary Norwegian black metal band. Got the shirt here as well of Diabolical Full Moon Mysticism. This is one of my favorite black metal bands, but favorite bands of all time, as you know from my top 10. Look at this iconic cover art. It's just brilliant. Like the previous album, Pure Holocaust, it was all black on the cover with the 3 band members, and then they went the opposite way with this one with this striking white cover, and they're there with their guitars and bass standing in the snow. Absolutely brilliant. And it's not just this album cover or this album, but every song, you know Immortal's lyrics, if you're not familiar, they revolve around the mythical kingdom of Blashirk and Ravendark, which is sort of like, from the lyrics and descriptions I've read, it's sort of like a combination of Nordic landscapes, Antarctica, and a fantasy world, something like that. So absolutely brilliant. Look at this back part as well, back cover, absolutely amazing. Yeah, so this is just a freeze, ice, snow band in general, Immortal, and this is Battles in the North. All right, refreshing my screen once again. Okay, so question 7, a song title with royal ties. Okay, for me the choice was obvious. Manowar, this is the album Kings of Metal, but actually not the song Kings of Metal. For me, it's the last track on the album, Blood of the Kings. Like, that is just such a monumental, epic, heavy metal song, which involves, like, I think it was the German, you know, it's some official choir from Germany, which they used on a few of these songs, actually. But it's just such an empowering, great anthemic song, and they use the lyrics to mention fans from multiple countries around the world. It's really clever, and it's got this great sing-along chorus with the choirs and everything. Blood of the Kings, it sounds noble, it sounds regal, it sounds royal. Fantastic. And this album actually has a very royal theme if you think about it. Four songs referring specifically to royalty. You've got Kings of Metal, The Crown and the Ring, Lament of the Kings, Kingdom Come, and Blood of the Kings. And also in the Warrior's Prayer they talk about the Metal Kings. So Manowar, Blood of the Kings from Kings of Metal. All right, next question. A predominantly green album cover. So I suppose the obvious choice a lot of people are thinking is Suka Gogoi. I've shown that a few times, so I decided to go with something different today. One of my favorite cover arts. This is Funeral Storm with Arcane Mysteries. So Funeral Storm, I've talked about this band before. This is sort of very majestic, atmospheric, Hellenic Greek black metal featuring Necroabysseus from Varathron, another legendary Greek black metal band. This is an absolutely magic album, and I just love this. It's skeletal, and it's got that shade of green, and actually the record in this, it comes in this olive green with aqua, so amazing. So yeah, green album cover, Funeral Storm with Arcane Mysteries. All right. Number 9, an album released in 2021 that you bought but have not listened to this year, as in 2022. Okay, for me, that's Psy with Scorn Defeat. So Psy are a Japanese black metal band, been around since the early 90s. And what's interesting about them is they sound a little bit different to most black metal bands. Yeah, unfortunately, I haven't listened to this one much because it disappointed me a bit. Like, I first heard a song from this, Ready for the Final War, on a Black End compilation way back in the day. Love that song, very majestic and atmospheric. And it was brilliant, but then listening to the rest of the album, it just didn't grab me too much. So I'm not saying I hate this album. I think I need to give it more of a chance. But yeah, for whatever reason, I just didn't listen to it last year. Probably because I couldn't get into it that much. I saw them live at Grass Pop in 2015. It was a very theatrical show, but I think I need to spend more time with this album. So, Psy, Scorn Defeat. Okay, next question. 10. Best find of 2022, old or new? Okay, so for me, that is Medieval Demon with Demonolatria. So I actually discovered this band, Medieval Demon, in the year 2020. That's when I bought the first album I owned by them. But this was the one I heard just late last year, and it's turned out to be my favorite Medieval Demon album. It's actually from 1995. They broke up for many years, and they've come back recently with a series of stellar albums, which are fantastic. But this one just has this raw atmospheric energy, which I love. So it came out in 1995, but this was my album discovery of the year in 2022. That's Medieval Demon with Demonolatria. Awesome Hellenic Greek black metal. And I forgot to mention, also, this is a Hell's Headbangers compilation, which is obviously mimicking Cannibal Corpse's Eaten Back to Life album cover. On this compilation, it features a series of Hell's Headbangers bands. One band which I discovered was Acid Witch. Now, I've heard a lot of people talking about this in the YouTube community, especially Canyon. He collects a lot of their albums, and it's just one of those things I never got around to checking them out. But then I heard that song, and it sounds really striking and evil and bewitching, and I think this band is creepy sounding, so I've got to check more of them out. So Acid Witch. So yeah, that's another band which I discovered in 2022 through this Hell's Headbangers compilation. All right. So number 12, an album sold to you by a song. Okay, so for me, this was from the Emperor Enslaved split from way back in the 90s. From the Enslaved aspect of the album, Hordanesland, is the song Slaget I Skogen Borten for, which is the first track. I heard this for the first time in way back in 96, actually. Like, at that time, I already listened to some black metal bands like Emperor and Immortal, and I knew they shared this split with Emperor, but I'd never heard the band. But my friend's brother made this compilation tape where I heard a lot of other bands for the first time, like Beherit and Enslaved, and I heard this song, Slaget I Skogen Borten for, 13-minute epic track of just chaotic yet majestic forest, goblin-esque black metal. It's just so atmospheric and operatic with the use of the keyboards, and dramatic. It's a striking track. It's absolutely brilliant. That's what made me buy this split and get in. It not only made me discover this album, but the band in general, Enslaved. And it's funny, on this Unlistened EP, all the other songs, they're pretty good, but they pale in comparison to that one track which really got me into the album and the band in general. So Enslaved with Slaget I Skogen Borten for from Unlistened. And I apologize for my shitty Norwegian pronunciation. All right, so question 13. Most anticipated album of 2023 for you. So I actually have a few here. Among them are the new albums from Azagal from Finland, the new Enslaved album, the new Immortal album, the new Obituary album, and also the new Satanic Warmaster. That actually came out in 2022, but I haven't heard it yet. I'm one of those people, if it's a band I really like, I don't like to listen to it digitally first. I just like to buy the hard copy because I'm dedicated to that band, so to speak. So yeah, Azagal, Enslaved, Immortal, Obituary, and Satanic Warmaster. Also, I have to admit, I'm curious about the new Metallica album. I heard the new single and I enjoyed it. I think Metallica is one of those bands a lot of people like to criticize or make fun of them, yet everyone's always interested when a new album comes out because they're curious to know what it sounds like, including me. And to be honest, I thought, Hardwired to Self-Destruct, when it first came out, I really liked it, and then I lost enthusiasm after a few months, but I've listened to it again recently and I do like it. So yeah, looking forward to the new Metallica. Okay, question 14, the 23rd album on your shelf. Okay, so I actually, for this one, I pulled out both CD and record. So the 23rd CD on my shelf is this one, Ayatara with Kuolema. This is a Finnish black metal band in the vein, sort of slow plodding black metal in the vein of Samael, featuring Pasi Koskinen, who was the one-time lead vocalist of Amorphous. Yep, and then the 23rd record on my shelf is Baptism with the Behirial Midnight. So Baptism are a Finnish black metal band, also signed to Werewolf Records, the aforementioned label. Yeah, so it's funny that in terms of CD and LP, the two 23rd albums on my shelf are both Finnish black metal, but maybe that says something about my musical tastes. Question 15. The last album that has gone into your collection. Okay, that is Varathron with Patriarchs of Evil. So as I've mentioned before, Varathron are a legendary Greek black metal band, sort of one of the leaders in the Hellenic scene. And I got recommended this album by a friend on Instagram, Maxon, and he said, just check this out, it's magic. I absolutely agree. I only got this recently, so I haven't talked about it in detail, but that's coming up in the next collection update. So the most recent album in my collection, and one which I really like, what a masterpiece it is, Varathron with Patriarchs of Evil. Okay, question number 16, a random pull from your collection. So this isn't completely random, but it's one that I thought I would mention because I actually made a video a long time ago called Australian Metal Gems, and I forgot to include this Australian band. This is Nocturnal with his self-titled album from 1995, I think. So Nocturnal is a one-man black metal band from South Australia, I think Adelaide, performed by a guy called Arathorn, I think. Yeah, but this is absolutely great as well. Like, I don't think this band is active anymore, but if you like early Burzum, like Aska and the self-titled album, that kind of thing, you'll really enjoy this band. It's got that same production and atmosphere. So Nocturnal from Australia. Okay. And question 17, a band artist that you discovered through social media. Okay, so social media technically includes YouTube. So when about 7 or 8 years ago, when I watched the documentary One Man Metal, which documented 3 one-man black metal bands, I discovered this band here, Streborg, a one-man band from Tasmania, Australia. And the other 2 bands featured on that documentary were Zaster and Leviathan, and I discovered those at the same time. I really liked them, but I remember of the 3, this was the one that I was the most curious to check out based on interviews with Sin Nana, the guy behind this project, and I've become a long-term fan of this band. It's not for everyone, but it's sort of ambient very atmospheric black metal mimicking the elements of nature and the forest. And then more recently, he's done more experimental dark synth, dark wave, black wave kind of material. But yeah, very interesting. So Streborg, discovered through YouTube. Okay. Question 18. Where do you see your collection progressing in the next 5 years? With the prices of music going up, etc. Well, for me, it's got nothing to do with price, but I see my collection slowing down in terms of the fact that I'm more selective these days with the music I buy. I just don't buy any old thing, but I try to buy something not obscure for the sake of it, but stuff which is harder to find. You know, having said that, if I see a mainstream album which is a good price, I'll pick that up too. But generally speaking, I'm trying to slow down because I just don't want to take up too much space, too much storage, and so on. My collection is actually a lot smaller than most people on YouTube. I think, like, you look behind me, these 3 shelves of CDs, they're all the original CDs I own. In terms of LPs, I have 4 boxes, which are the equivalent of 4 Kallax cubes, you know, in the IKEA Kallax shelf. So I am pretty selective in general. However, in the last 6 months, I went on a bit of a spending spree with albums, as you may know, for various reasons, but I think I'm going to slow down this year. And I'm still going to collect music, but just be more selective. And on that note, I know there's a lot of people on YouTube or in general who like buy 10 or 20 albums a week. And that's all right if it works for you. But for me, I don't like to do that because when I invest in an album, I want to get to know it properly and listen to it properly. So I think if I'm buying too much music too frequently, I'll never get the chance to get to know it. But that's just me. Okay. Question 19. A new release you didn't buy this year based on price? Well, many really, because I'm selective. So I never saw one particular one where I thought, you know, it's too expensive for me to buy, but I'm just starting to slow down with buying albums anyway. But on that note, in the very first metal tag I did a couple of years ago, I mentioned I'd like to get an LP copy of Marduk's Dark Endless, but only in the original format with the original artwork. I don't think it's too expensive, so that's one I still need to get my hands on. Anyway, so Marduk Dark Endless. Okay, and question 20, a song that doesn't belong on an album, or a song that lets an album down. So I've previously done a thread response actually talking about 10 terrible songs on killer albums, so you can go and watch that if you haven't seen it. So I'm going to make my answer a bit different today. This is one song, as I said, not necessarily, well, in this case it is a really bad song, and it also doesn't fit in with the album at all. So that is Children of Bodom with Skeletons in the Closet. This is a covers album, so symphonic melodic Finnish death power metal band Children of Bodom doing some great covers on this album. So mostly metal covers like Sepultura, Scorpions, Slayer, but yeah, Wasp, Iron Maiden, Anthrax, so some really good choices there, but they also branch out into other genres of music like punk with the Ramones, also some 80s rock like Pat Benatar and so on. All of the song choices are really good on this album, with the exception of one atrocious cover, and that is the last track, Oops, I Did It Again, so a Britney Spears cover. I know the band is joking, like you hear them in the recording of this, they're laughing and everything, but to me it's just below a joke. It's just unnecessary to include on this. They even include samples of Britney Spears' voice from the original. I just can't stand it. It just really wrecks an almost perfect album. But thankfully after that, they come back with a hidden cover of King Diamond to sort of make up with that. But anyway, they did not need this cover on this album. So, Oops, I Did It Again, Britney Spears cover on Children of Bodom's Skeletons in the Closet. Okay, and looking at my stack of CDs, I think I've missed out a question, so I'm just going to have a look now. Oh, question 11 was best band or album discovery of 2022. So I combined that with question 10, which was best find. So I said best find was Medieval Demon Demonolatria, and best new band discovery was Acid Witch. I also forgot to mention this band, Megaton Sword from Switzerland. This is new wave of traditional heavy metal, and this was recommended to me by Chris from Audio Obsession in Canada. And it's just such a great album, just really unique vocals, and it's sort of epic heavy metal with the drama of Manowar, but without sounding like that. And as I said, the vocals are really unique. So this is another great new band album discovery of 2022. Okay, so that's it, guys. Sorry about the disjointedness by missing out on a question there, but I'm not going to make this video again. Thanks, Scott, for coming up with the idea once again. Really fun questions. And I hope you guys enjoy the video. If you're not subscribed yet, please consider doing so. And I will be back soon with a collection update. So in the meantime, take care and I'll talk to you soon. Cheers.